Hi, I am Jessica Jackson, and today we're talking about getting back into routines after a busy summer. So, if you listened last week, I talked all about my morning routine, and we talk about these three pillars of thriving in my Made to Soar Next 90 Days program. But the first pillar is soul, and that's what I addressed with the morning routine. So, if you haven't watched that, go watch that because even though it's tempting to dive into the house stuff and the kids stuff, the most important thing is that you have practices in place, habits in place that are going to allow you to keep moving forward over the long haul without being overwhelmed or discouraged or get exhausted. And so that's what we talk about first. But now, if you watch that, you're ready for this week's video, which is now getting everybody ready for the summer. And so or from summer into the school year, into the fall. So whether you have little kids at home and you're not in school yet, but you're transitioning to fall and just the different rhythms of fall, or whether you are homeschooling or whether you've got kids in public school, you can take these principles we're going to talk about today and apply them to your situation to get yourself set up for success.
Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson, and this is the new way to thrive in motherhood by leaning into who you are, what you love, your unique family situation, and personal mission to create a life that you actually want to live. I want to invite you to join me in saying no to the life of the exhausted supermom, burnout, victim thinking, being pulled in so many directions, suffering through survival mode, or being lost in motherhood, and say yes to building strong families and moving forward on our greatest goals in order to create a fulfilling life that we are excited to wake up to each day and become a soaring mother. This is the Thriving in Motherhood podcast.
I want to take just a moment and share a free gift that I've created for you called 3 Secrets to Do More of What You Love Without Hiring a Babysitter. This workshop is available for you to go watch right now and start taking action on so that you can do more of what you want to do, more of what's on your heart, more of what is important to you. With your children at home. You don't have to wait for them to be in school or for you to have loads of time. There are ways to start moving forward right now. And you can check that out at thrivinginmotherhoodpodcast.com/workshop. So the first principle I want you to remember here is that you're essentially working along the 5-step path from surviving to thriving again. Summer maybe wasn't survival in a bad sense, but just survival in the sense of circumstances were bigger, right? We had vacations and road trips and time with family and late nights and extra adventures and holidays. And so things are done differently during those times, and you may not have all of the same systems and routines and organization in place that you would do during the school year. And so just acknowledge that, and we have to go through that second step then of reentry. So now reentry is when we're catching up on the dishes and the laundry or unpacking from the road trip or stocking back up on food, or, those things that just were left undone or are extra, because now we're getting put, now maybe you have to put away all that swimming gear that you were using all summer, right? All of those extra things that we had, now we need to kind of dig ourselves out and get reset. And that leads us to the third step, normalizing. So for us, we're gone all summer. And so when we come back, we've got to relearn how to do the dishes, how to do the laundry, how to pick up at the end of the day, how to meal planning, right? All of that is now back on my shoulders, the kids' shoulders, Andrew's shoulders, and we have to kind of recalibrate and get used to doing those things again. Now, that's what I started with, normalizing. You don't have to have everything figured out, but that's the first step. Again, just helping everybody get used to what the system is for those basic things: the dishes, the laundry, the meal planning, making meals, cleaning up for meals, and the other thing I said, the resetting the house, putting things away, right? What are those responsibilities during the school year? If your family's homeschooling, maybe your kids have more responsibilities now that you're home and they're older, so you want them to do even more, and you're going to spend some time training that. Maybe your kids are busy during the school year and they don't have time, and so now it's you developing systems to take on more of those things yourself while they are, in school. Or maybe your kids are still really, really little, and so you're still doing everything by yourself with them in tow, nice and slow. All is good, but we just need to get, established in that. The fourth phase is exploring. Now, some of you might have done a lot of this during the summer. I know for me, because we don't have the same things going on, it leaves a lot of time for my brain to explore, to wander, to read different books, to get inspired by lots of different people and ideas, and to get prepared for the fall and kind of figure out what are my priorities, what matters to me. One of the questions that I've been asking myself, because I'm really good at, and maybe you are too, I'm really good at, let's say, looking at homeschool and figuring out hey, these are all the things that I could, like, this is how I do math really, really great. And this is how I do reading really, really well. And this is how we could do history really, really well. And this is how we could do, practicing really, really well. Like, I can find the ideal for everything. This is how we clean our house ideally. This is how, I do our evening with our kids ideally. Like, all the things I can think about the ideal. But the reality is I can't do the ideal in every aspect of life all the time, right? We might hit it some days, some months, some weeks, but probably not all at the same time. And so one of the questions I'm asking myself right now as I'm preparing for the fall is, what do we want to go big on? Like, things are going to fall off, right? So what are the things that we want to go big on? What are the things that we want to do really, really well at in this season of life? And that answer is going to be unique for every family, maybe every child. But trying to figure out what matters most right now. Is it a certain habit? Is it a certain skill? Maybe it's a habit, maybe it's a skill, maybe it's a character trait, maybe it's something to do with their heart, spiritually. So what is it that you want to go big on? And again, this is part of creating your vision, right? So once we've gone to this path, now we get to build our 3 pillars of thriving back up. So far, we've just done the basics, the absolute essentials to get back to this spot. But now we're in phase 5 where we build the 3 pillars of thriving. And again, if you want help with this, I would love to help you in the My Made to Soar Next 90 Days program. And you can learn more about that at my workshop, 3 Secrets to Do More of What You Love Without Hiring a Babysitter, at thrivingmotherhoodpodcast.com/workshop. And that will help you learn kind of the overview of how to create a life you don't have to escape from, and to be able to spend time on the things that matter with you, and how to automate the essentials. And there's practical takeaways in there. And then I also share how I can help you in the Made to Soar program if you want a little extra help there.
Just mucking through the day was just survival. And then it was like the thought of trying to do anything extra was like, well, that's just never going to happen.
I think with Made to Soar, I don't know, I was probably hoping that it'd be the magical for morning.
I mean, we had no systems in our house. I mean, we had no routine. Like, we were...
How can I infuse meaning into my life? And even if I do the same thing, how can I think about it differently so that I'm feeling fulfilled?
And so that was my goal in joining the Next 90 Days, was to figure out how to kind of handle all of these different domains. How do I become intentional with all of these things and make sure that I'm meeting my own expectations?
Now I have systems set in place that, like, things like the laundry, just automatic, things get done.
Because I was able to have the foundation of some of these systems and routines, when things got crazy, I could still go back to those and be like, okay, well, at least the laundry got done. At least my kids got fed. At least I read the Bible and did my workout today.
So it helped me go through a couple big moves and big changes, and to keep some level of stability for the family.
Figuring out how do I homeschool? How do I do it with consistency and some level of discipline? And then how do I build a business and still find meaningful work outside of my home? All of that, I wouldn't have known how to organize it. It was all kind of just like spaghetti in my brain.
With Made to Soar, just gaining clarity about what I wanted my days and weeks to look like, my hours and my spare minutes.
This is how we get to where we want to go, and just changing those expectations has helped me be happier.
I have power to change my circumstances, right? That I can put in new routines. I can solve some of these problems. I can think about things differently and realize that I have power to be in a better place.
When it comes to specifically looking at this fall, oh my gosh, there's so much I want to tell you. It's in the course. Okay, but let me make the short version of it for you so that you can sit down and figure this out. What I'd love for you to do, once you know what to go big on and once you have an idea of all these other things, just pull out a piece of paper right now. Grab it. Good. Got it. Awesome. And I want you to just write down what happens in a typical day. Now, you can go back to what you were doing before summer, or maybe you had a week in the summer that was going really well, or a couple weeks or a month in the summer that you really liked. Write down what your family is doing every day currently, or that you used to do that worked really well, and just write it down verbatim, right? Because these are old habits. These are things that work well for people and can go smoothly, right? And then I want you to pick one thing You can't do it all at once. If you try and change your entire family's life at once, it will not work, and it will be an uphill battle. You might get through a day or two of it, but it'll be too much. So then just pick one thing that you want to tweak, a system that you want to create, something that you can do to help smooth out your day a little bit more. So let me give you an example for this, right? Something that it was really important to me, if we go back when I had just had those little kids and we were just getting started with this, was I knew that I wanted to go big on scriptures. I really wanted to have our morning time at breakfast be where we were in the scriptures together. We're memorizing scriptures, we're reading scriptures, we're telling scripture stories, and we're taking themes and principles that we are applying to our life. So like this month right now, it's I can be a peacemaker. All right. And as we're reading scriptures, we're finding stories about that. We're finding examples of that. We're memorizing scriptures about that. We're trying to apply it. We're, setting goals. I really wanted to go big on that for a scripture study. So in the morning, I know we're having breakfast every day. And so that's an easy time for me to pair something I want to go big on at breakfast. Okay. And that's it. For your fall, if you are just getting started, you might just have that. You might have one anchor. I like call this one anchor, and then pair it. Pair this thing that's important to you with your one anchor. Now, over time, every few months I reevaluate and we add more things, right? So then we have things that we do when we first wake up, big 5, right? We put that routine there. And then I know, lunch becomes another anchor. And I know what we do at lunch, the things we want to go big on at lunch. And dinner's another anchor. And I know the things we want to go big on at dinner. And rest and read time becomes an anchor. And I know what everyone knows what we get to do there. And then we figure out what we do in between that, the breakfast and lunch. And there's things we want to go big on there, right? Like a daily walk or different activities we do for school or things we do with friends or our own personal like nature studies, whatever it is, we have that kind of fleshed out. And then we figure out what we do in the afternoons. My point is that this is the process, right? Write out what you're already doing. And then I want you to take one little thing and add it. The thing that you want to go big on this fall and add it in. Don't try and sit down and write out the perfect cleaning schedule. Like if you sit down and try and map up your perfect life and your perfect week, you're like, we're going to do this. We're going to get on the routine bandwagon. It is going to be a disaster unless you live in a really cool, perfect family. But I don't. So if you live in a family like mine where we're all imperfect people doing our best to change and grow together, it's going to be a process. And this is what I recommend. So get out that piece of paper, pick your one thing, go slow. And every few months you can come and adjust and come back to it. If you want more help, more hand holding, more ideas about how to make this work for you, head over to thrivingmotherhoodpodcast.com/made to soar. And that will help you. I will help you hold your hand through this entire process of creating a life you don't have to escape from, one that has systems and routines and flows smoothly and leaves space for you too. So thank you so much for talking with me today, listening to me today, being a part of my life today, letting me be part of your life today. I absolutely love what I get to do and how we get to connect literally all over the world. This community is worldwide. And I would really appreciate it if you're listening to this to head over to iTunes and leave a review over there so more moms can find the show, or you can send a screenshot and tag me on Instagram so that we can, and I would love to reshare that with others and hear what your big takeaways are. And thank you. Thanks for being here. And I'm excited to talk with you again next week.
Where you are planted, watch the blossoms grow.